Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to all of you. The, Now, please mute your mic. And if you want to ask something, you can write to me. You want to say something, you can write to me. But please switch off your the mute your mic. See, in the last class, I was telling you about the conservation laws and identification of the interaction. So I think there is some doubt to the students that how to write L values in order to find out the parity conservation, whether it is conserved or not. Therefore, what I am going to do today is I will give you another explanation of how to check whether parity is conserved or not. I repeat, today again I will tell you how to check whether parity is conserved or not, or the estimation of orbital angular momentum. So I'm going to write one equation on the board. So this is the same reaction. This is the same reaction which we discussed yesterday. Here, the ions are being bombarded onto the protons. As a result of it, we are getting some strange particles. They are omega minus, k plus, and k naught. And we have checked all the conservation laws yesterday. So today I am going to tell you how to estimate the orbital angular momentum, L value of the final states, and if you have any doubt in checking the parity conservation rule in this particular reaction, that I will explain it to you again. So here, first of all, what we do is, in order to check parity, we assume that all the conservation laws that has been checked yesterday, they are still holding here. So I'm not going to check those conservation laws again. Today, I will check only the parity conservation law in this particular case. Therefore, what I do here is, first of all, I will write the spin values. Spin S. Spin of the kaon is 0. Spin of the proton is half. Spin of omega minus is 3 half. And the spin of k plus and k naught, it is 0. So you can see here, or to the left hand side I have 0 and half, and to the right hand side I have 3 half 0 0. Therefore, in order to conserve the angular momentum, the outgoing particles must have 1 unit of orbital angular momentum. In order to conserve We can say outgoing or the product. We have just read it. So from this reaction, you can see that if I want to conserve the angular momentum, I think this is not visible to you. I have changed this pen. See here, in order to conserve the angular momentum, you can see the outgoing particles or the products, they have only this 3 by 2 value of spin here. So in order to conserve the angular momentum, what we require is an additional orbital angular momentum by 1 unit. So L is equal to 1 in this case. Therefore, the final parity of the products final parity of products will be intrinsic parities into -1 to the power L. Intrinsic parity of omega is +1. Intrinsic parity of K on is -1. Intrinsic parity of K naught is -1 into -1 to the power L, 1 unit. Therefore, what we can have here is -1 and this is minus 1 as plus, so we have minus 1. Odd. Likewise, final parity of incoming or reactants. This is simply the intrinsic parities. Minus 1 plus 1. Or this is though I told you that the conservation of parity, checking the parity in case of weak interaction is a trivial thing to do. Why? Because we already know that parity is not conserved in weak interaction. Even if it is conserved and other conservation laws are fulfilled, it can be weak interaction. But this is not a deciding factor whether the parity conservation should hold or not. It may or may not. So it is a trivial thing and in case of weak interaction. But since we have discussed this strong interaction case yesterday, therefore I thought that I should elaborate in a different way. Otherwise, you can do it in the same way, like the J values that I have told you. You can get the same answer on that basis also. Likewise, if you see here a decay case, in this decay process, you can see onto the left hand side I have spin 3 by 2. On the right side I have spin 1 by 2. Therefore, to conserve the angular momentum, This is intrinsic parity of cascade plus 1 into intrinsic parity of pion minus 1 minus 1 to the power orbital angular momentum, that is 1. So I have plus given level. And this is action decaying into other particles. Therefore, we predicted that it will be a decay process and it will be governed by the weak interaction. As I said, checking the parity conservation in weak interaction is a trivial thing, as parity violation can take place in case of weak interaction. Here you can see parity is conserved. So on the basis of conservation of parity, we cannot decide that this will be some strong interaction. All the other conservation laws confirms that this will be a weak interaction, though it is saying that parity is conserved in this particular case. So parity may or may not conserve, and the process will be weak interaction. You can see another case which I discussed.
Sir, can you again repeat? The voice was not clear.
चलेंगे.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is some internet issue. Sometimes this connection goes away, therefore the signal becomes weak. Therefore, the screen goes and it shows it is disconnected. Now it is okay. So likewise, I have given you one more example. You can do it by yourself if you want, like pi plus plus p.
Sir, can you repeat that point about weak interactions related with parity?
Okay. See, in this particular case, which we have just discussed, here it is coming out that parity is conserved. Though from rest of the conservation laws, we confirm that it is a weak interaction. We say that parity conservation can violate in case of weak interaction. Here it is saying that parity is conserved. So the parity conservation is not a confirmatory test. You cannot say that if parity is conserved, it is a strong interaction. Checking parity conservation in cases of weak interaction is a trivial thing to do. I repeat, checking parity conservation in case of weak interactions is a trivial thing to do. Though parity is conserved here, even though it is a weak interaction. That is what I was trying to say. Parity may or may not conserve. Yes.
Sir, how from this when we are interpreting that L should be 1?
Otherwise, how will you justify the conservation of angular momentum. See, if in this case the spin is half for the cascade particle, ions have spin 0. So to conserve the angular momentum, what will you do? It is seen from the spin quantum numbers that we require one more unit for the products in order to conserve angular momentum. Actually, we can have one unit of orbital angular momentum in order to conserve the total angular momentum. That is why we are saying that L, if there is L is equal to 1 in the form of some excitation of products. In that way, there is a possibility that angular momentum can be conserved. In the first case which I discussed, you can see the spin on the left hand side is half, on the right hand side it is 3 half. Therefore, to conserve the angular momentum, we can say that we can have one unit of orbital angular momentum to the products in the form of some of their excitations. We can have L is equal to 1 for the products. Therefore, but angular moment, Ashutosh is saying angular momentum is a vector quantity. So what? There is a possibility, that is what I am saying. Yes, but there is nothing to add or subtract. Like we have 0 and half. Whether you add or subtract, it will be half. Onto the right hand side, you have 3 half 0 0. So whether you add or subtract, it will be 3 half. So we can have one unit of angular momentum. There is a difference of the one unit of L value from the reactants to the product. You can assign in either way to the reactants or to the product side in order to conserve that. There may be a possibility onto the basis of that.
So in the first case, the product side had spin 3 by 2, but in the second case, the product had spin half and the reactant part had 3 by 2. Then why are we taking L is equal to 1 in both the cases?
See, you can say L in either side. What I am trying to say is there is a difference of there is a mismatch of one unit of angular momentum. So you can assign this one unit of angular momentum to any of the side. Like the difference is of one unit. We are saying that there is something missing by one unit. So in first case, the half onto the left hand side and 3 half onto the right hand side. There is a mismatch of one unit of angular momentum. You can assign one unit of angular momentum on either side. And for parity conservation, what you will write? The pi I will be equal to intrinsic parity multiplied by -1 to the power of that difference in angular momentum.
So yesterday, for the same example, omega
Yes.
minus, which turns into cascade and pi minus, we took L is equal to -1.
Omega minus and
The second reaction we are doing today, we took L is equal to -1 yesterday.
so that is what I'm saying is you can have L in either direction. You can have L in either direction in order to conserve. We do not know which particle is carrying this momentum, whether it is from the reactant side or it is from the product side. All we can say is there is a mismatch of one unit, and this one unit can be accompanied either with the products or with the reactants in order to see the parity.
Sir, there is mismatch in the spin. Sir, I don't understand the relationship between the spin and the orbital angular momentum.
Excuse me.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Sir, the one you are taking one element and one isn't it just a tool just to make the mathematical relationship satisfied? How do we know that whether it is correct or not?
So Radeep, your voice is not clear. Can you write what you are saying? My screen is not. Making angular momentum, one is a thing done for making the mathematics proper. How do we know in reality that it is correct? See, this is a reaction in which, see, in case of the first reaction which I told today, K minus plus P, and it is giving sum of the products. So in this case, the protons can be supposed to be at rest and kaons are being bombarded onto it. Kaons are being bombarded onto it. As a result of it, we are getting omega minus K plus and K naught. So these particles will be moving with certain value of energy and momentum. These particles will be moving certain value of momentum and energy, and that momentum is such that it can compensate the difference of 1 unit of angular momentum in order to conserve it. They cannot have any arbitrary value of angular momentum. They will have the value, that particular value, so that it can have, it can obey the conservation principle. This reaction which have been written, this is experimentally proven. So this is an experimental observation, and that is what we have written, that this reaction takes place as a strong interaction. So in this way, this was the one way to understand, which we have discussed in previous class, that how can we justify the value of L, or in order to conserve the parity. This issue comes only with no, it can have orbital angular momentum is not intrinsic. What we are saying is it can have the total of the orbital angular momentum for the product side will be such that it can conserve the angular momentum. That is why we have said L is equal to 1 for that case. So you can have it on the basis of the J values, or you can understand it like this, which we have discussed here. And there are other examples which you can do. Have you tried to solve other nuclear reactions? Do you have you solved any other nuclear reactions? Have you seen in the book? Hello? Okay, I will also give you some of the reactions, and what I suggest you to do these problems by yourself, so that you can have an understanding of how to calculate the other values, or justify whether the reaction is feasible or not. And it is for the practice point of view, I will give you a set of certain nuclear particle physics reactions, and you have to identify whether it is feasible or not. Just as an example, I am asking you, can you tell me whether this reaction is feasible or not? tell me any particular case. Ashutosh is saying isospin creates problem. So you tell me any particular case, I will resolve it. Otherwise, how can I tell you why this is creating a problem? You just write it to me that what is the problem that you are facing. Tell me whether this is allowed or not. Why?
Charge is not conserved.
Hmm?
Charge is not conserved.
Charge is not conserved. Any other conservation law which is being violated?
Lepton. So lepton number is not conserved.
Yes, lepton number is not conserved and charge is not conserved. What about this?
Sir, isospin is not conserved.
In this case,
Lambda not. Yes, sir. So charge is conserved. Baryon number conserved. Isospin is not conserved, sir.
I'm not asking about isospin is conserved or not. You tell me whether this interaction can take place or not. Tell me whether this interaction can take place or not.
No,
It can, sir,
no,
because
sir.
changeness is changing by one only.
Hmm?
Changeness is changing by 1 unit only, so weak interaction can take place.
I cannot listen you. Strangeness is violated.
Strangeness is changing by 1 unit only,
So
so it can take place through weak interaction.
it can take place. Photon is present. It should be EM. Okay. Ashutosh is saying since photon is present, therefore it should be electromagnetic interaction. So is it electromagnetic?
Yes, sir.
It is electromagnetic.
Yes, sir.
Check the conservation laws of the electromagnetic interaction. Akanksha Agarwal is saying baryon number is not conserved. How? See, this line simply means not defined for this. So charge is conserved, baryon number is conserved. I am not going to check lepton number. Now, strangeness. -1, 0. So delta S is 1. So here neither I nor I3 is conserved. Both are being violated. First of all, which Asutosh had said, all of you remember this in your mind, whenever any particle physics reaction involves a gamma photon, whenever any particle physics reaction involves a gamma photon, it will take place via electromagnetic interaction. It will take place via electromagnetic interaction subject to the fulfillment of rest of the conservation laws. I repeat, if in any particle physics reaction gamma photon comes, then the reaction will take place via electromagnetic interaction subject to the fulfillment of the rest of the conservation laws assigned for electromagnetic interaction. So, since here gamma photon is involved, if this reaction can take place, it will occur via EM interaction. Otherwise not. It is not feasible. So, for electromagnetic interaction, it is must that we should have both I and I3, or I should be conserved. You can check from the table. These conservation laws are being violated. Therefore, this reaction cannot take place. However, you can see here, weak interaction properties are being fulfilled, but since gamma photons are involved, it cannot go in weak interaction, it has to be in electromagnetic. Therefore, this reaction is not allowed.
So any reaction can take place only through one process. Matlab, it cannot be of electromagnetic and strong or weak.
Yes, it can take place in other processes, but it depends upon what is the reaction probability and the percentage of decay mode. So the maximum, the majority decay mode, the majority or the major possibility of decay mode, that will be the deciding factor that this reaction can take place via this interaction. Like there are cases in which the particle decays in two different ways, in two different interactions, but one particular interaction is being favored because of high cross section. One interaction is favored and other is has a least probability to occurrence. However, it is not zero. So there may be cases, but we are considering here only the maximum favored interactions. All the reactions which we are judging here, they are onto the basis of their most favorable decay mode. Okay, then there are others. That is why I told you to learn by yourself, look for the particle physics reactions and solve by yourself. You can have an idea what problems you may face. If possible, I will also give you some of the examples as an exercise and to do by yourself. Then comes the one thing which was still there to cover. See, the ordinary matter which we see in our daily life, it is composed of neutrons and protons and electrons. The ordinary matter which we see here in our daily life, it is composed of neutrons, protons and leptons or the electrons. So if you see only this much part, the ordinary matter of which we are interacting, then the neutron and protons, they are hadrons and they are composed of quarks. What type of quarks they are composed of? Up and down. And leptons which we are encountered with are electrons. And in radioactive decay, apart from these electrons, we also have neutrinos associated with electrons. So from the very beginning, I can say, if I put my starting point limited to the the ordinary particles, then you can say that the ordinary matter is composed of neutrons and protons, which are constituents in the form of up and down quarks, and we have electron and neutrino. So we have one set of hadron family, that is one set of quark family, that is up and down quark, and another set of lepton family, that is electron and neutrino. So this is called so we have up-down quark, of which the first the initial matter is composed of, and we have electrons This is called the first generation. This is called the first generation. The explanation will come in the form of subsequent generations. So the first generation particles are, जो हिंदी में कहें जो पहली पीढ़ी की दुनिया थी, वो किससे मिलकर बनी हुई है? केवल अप और डाउन क्वार्क और इलेक्ट्रॉन और उससे एसोसिएटेड उसका न्यूट्रिनो. जो पहली जनरेशन है, जो पहली पीढ़ी है, इट इज कंपोज्ड ऑफ ओनली अप एंड डाउन क्वार्क्स एंड इलेक्ट्रॉन एंड इट्स न्यूट्रिनो. The charge of up quark is +2/3. Charge of down quark is -1/3. Therefore, the difference in the charge of these two is of 1 unit. Charge difference is of 1 unit. Likewise, electrons have -1 charge. Neutrino have 0 charge, so charge difference in these two particles is 1 unit. So the first generation or पहली पीढ़ी, the first generation of the particles, in which we claim that the entire world is composed of two things, up-down quark and electron and neutrino. Then later on, it was discovered that, as I discussed in particle physics also, some of the strange particles were discovered. And some of the particles discovered which have charm as a quantum number. Therefore, in these particles, what we require is a different kind of quarks. For these kind of particles, we require different kind of quarks. So those different kind of quarks were strange and charm quark. And in case of lepton family, we have discovered another set of lepton, that is muon, and associated with it, its neutrino. So what we have as a second generation, strange quarks, charm quarks, mu minus, mu mu. This is not. In first case, it was not bar. So the second generation have quark family, strange quarks, and charm quarks. And in the lepton family, we have muon and its neutrino. Again, you can check the charge difference between these two is 1 unit. Charge quarks have a charge plus 2 by 3 and strange have minus 1 by 3. So there is a difference of 1 unit of charge. Likewise, muon have minus 1 charge and neutrino are electrically neutral. Therefore, again, charge difference is 1 unit. So this is the second generation. This is the second generation. Likewise, in some high energy experiments, when we made accelerators, it was found that there is a third type of quark also, and the name of that quark, third set of quarks also, and the name was bottom quarks and top quarks. Bottom quarks and top quarks. And in lepton family, here also the difference between the charge of two particles is of 1 unit. Here the difference between charge of the two particles is of 1 unit. So this is the third generation. This is the third generation of the particles. So I can now say that the entire material world is composed of only two things. Number bracket. The entire material world is composed of two things. जो सारी दुनिया आप देखते हो वो सारी की सारी दुनिया सिर्फ इस छोटे से ब्रैकेट में लिखी जा सकती है, जिसमें केवल दो तरीके के पार्टिकल हैं, दो कंपोनेंट है. कौन? The capital L, which stands for leptons, and small q, which stands for quarks. This is the set of which the entire world is composed of. How the several generations took place? In first generation, we had only up and down quark and electron neutrino. And the second generation had strange and charmed quark. And in lepton family, we have mu minus and nu mu. Further discovery of other particles in high energy experiments led to the discovery of top and bottom quarks. Along with them, in lepton family, we have tau minus and nu mu. Of course, we have these three generations, and the particles have their antiparticles as well. Like I have said, we have six leptons and 6 quarks. 6 leptons, they will be having 6 antileptons. 6 quarks, they will be having 6 antiquarks. So in total, we have 12 quarks and 12 leptons. And they are in 3 generations. And all the evidences have confirmed that we will not have any further generation for the particles. All we can require is only these three generations. On the basis of these particles, we can understand the configuration or the structure of rest of the particles. If we understand these three generations of particles, not only these three generations, to understand the other interactions, like for strong interaction, we have gluons. and they are 8 in numbers. We have 8 gluons. So whatsoever I have written onto the board till now, that is L, Q, that is lepton and quark, 6 lepton, 6 anti-lepton, 6 quarks, 6 anti-quarks, and to understand the interaction between quarks, we have 8 different types of gluons. The name is gluon because it is glue-like thing. It resembles the meaning like a glue-like thing which binds the two quarks together. So there are 8 different quarks, and then we have a gamma photon, virtual photons that we have discussed in case of electromagnetic interaction. So we have gamma photons, and finally, to understand the weak interaction, we require 3 bosons, W plus, W minus, and Z0. So this entire material which is presented to you on the board as of now, this complete picture is called the standard model. This complete picture is called the standard model. So what is the standard model? A model to understand the configuration and the interaction of particles. To understand the 3 generations, to understand the interaction and composition of other particles, what we require here is 3 generations of the particles. What are these 3 generations? Electron and neutrino, up and down quark, this is first generation, muon and its neutrino, strange and charm quark, and finally we have bottom and top quarks and tau and its neutrino. So these 3 generations of particles along with exchange particles. What are they? The gluons for understanding the strong interaction. And it is said that in case of proton, it is composed of 3 quarks, 2 up quark and 1 down quark. So it is said that the 3 quarks are swimming in a sea of gluons. Proton is nothing but it is a structure of 3 quarks which are swimming in the sea of a gluon. In a sea of gluon, 3 quarks are swimming. That is what the structure of proton is. So the entire material which we have 3 generations of particles and the exchange particles, gamma photon, gluon, and 3 bosons. And the model which uses that we expect from a complete theory. We expect from a complete theory that it should lead to the unified treatment of all the 4 interactions. What we expect is the complete theory should give not only the understanding of elementary particles, but also the unified treatment of all the 4 fundamental interactions. So the first part is very clear and it is very much successful. Standard model is very much successful in understanding the composition and various properties of the elementary particles. However, it lacks in the treatment of unified treatment of fundamental interactions. So, to achieve that success, in 1967, electroweak theory was proposed. In 1967, electroweak theory was proposed by Weinberg, Abdus Salam, and Glasow. This theory unifies the electromagnetic interaction with weak interaction with the help of W plus, W minus, and Z0 bosons. Initially, it was predicted that these three bosons are required for the completeness of the unification of electromagnetic and weak interaction. And later on in 1983, they have been experimentally confirmed that yes, we have these three kinds of bosons, W plus, W minus, and Z0. By using these bosons, a complete picture of unification of electromagnetic and weak interaction can be understood. There are other attempts to unify the electro-weak interaction with the strong interaction. There are other attempts to unify the electro-weak interaction with the strong interaction, and the theories who did the unification or who tried to unify these two interactions, electromagnetic and weak, those theories are called GUT, Grand Unified Theories. And there are many of them, grand unified theories. There are many of them, and they have been proposed to present a picture in which electromagnetic interaction, weak interaction clubbed together, that is electro-weak interaction, can be combined with the strong interaction. And this theory predicted, this theory, the grand unified theory was successful in explaining many of the things, like why there is a difference of 1 unit of charge in a particular pair of particles in one generation. That could be explained on the basis of grand unified theory. But there were other phenomena which claims that the grand unified theory is not a very successful model. Like grand unified theory predicts that there can be a conversion of quark into leptons. Grand unified theory says there can be a conversion of quarks into leptons. So what does it mean? Since protons are composed of quarks, and we are saying that the quarks are composed of the quarks can be converted into leptons. Therefore, in a way, we are trying to say that proton can decay into leptons. But proton is the lightest baryon. It is the most stable particle. Whenever you find a proton in free state, it can never decay. But grand unified theory said that yes, it can decay, but no experiment has suggested that the proton can decay at least in 10 to the power of 32 years. The theory said that for 10 to the power of 32 years, a proton cannot decay, and we have not discovered any such observation in which proton can be found to be decaying into other particles. So in this way, it was explaining few of the things, and it was predicting some strange things which cannot be verified experimentally, or they have not been verified experimentally so far. So grand unified theories, they are not successful, and people are still trying to unify them. Many grand unified theories have been proposed, and they are not giving a complete picture of the unification of electroweak and strong interaction. And I think this is time now.
Sir, but why we are trying to unify different theories?
Why we are?
Trying to unify different theories.
Why we are trying to, perhaps you have missed the first lecture, since there are 4 fundamental interactions, and it is a very common sense tells us that we should have one. The symmetry of the nature says that initially we should have one particular interaction, and these 4 interactions were derived from that fundamental interaction. So everybody working in the area of particle physics has an aim, or he tries to unify these 4 fundamental forces to make one particular interaction, such that the theory can say that the 4 interactions are nothing but they are the part of that one fundamental interaction. So we are moving in a reverse way. Nature has given us 4 fundamental forces, 4 fundamental interactions, and we are working to combine them so that one particular interaction, like electricity and magnetism. Initially, people were working and studying, and they have an understanding that electricity is something different and magnetism is something different. Electricity is something which is dealing with the electrons and charges. Magnetism is something which is dealing with the magnets. And later on, it was seen that no, they are not different things. The charge and the electricity and magnetism, they have been unified, and the common name is electromagnetic interaction. Likewise, the 4 interactions, the particle physicists are trying to unify them so that we can get one interaction.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then I will, yes.
So if gluons and photons are also bosons, then why have you written those in a separate row?
I have written gluons and photons separately because they are the particles which are involved in as an exchange particle in 2 different interactions. Like gluons are responsible for strong interaction taking place between the quarks, and based on the quantum chromodynamics, there are 8 different gluons to have a complete picture of quantum chromodynamics. Whereas we have one such proton which can explain the electromagnetic interaction. They are not photon and gluon, they are not same. These are the exchange particles. Like we have bosons W plus W minus Z0, but they are the exchange particles in case of weak interaction.
Okay, sir.
We haven't encountered Z0 yet. Is it rare? No, I have not told you, but you can see in the examples Z0 will be there. You can see Asutosh is asking, we haven't encountered Z0 yet. You can have the cases, the Feynman diagrams in the book. If you see, you will find that Z0 will be there. So I will post the question regarding your attendance, and that's all for today. I think we should stop here. Thank you, everyone.
So kindly post yesterday's and today's lecture.
I have posted the YouTube links onto the portal itself. You can see.
So actually,
Sir,
that was
24 July and 31st July lecture link not available.
24 July. All the lectures I have posted.
No, sir. 24 July, 31st July, 15, 16, and 17 July.
See the lectures which I get from the portal or the mail which we get of the recording, and I could download them. I have posted them all. The first lecture and part of the second lecture it might not be there because there was some issue with the recording, and automatically it turned off. And not only that, as I said, that recording is available in some student. The name is Vikas. It's older. One of the lecture is available with him. Though he sent the link for the same, I could not retrieve that. So I request Preetham to help Vikas so that he can give that lecture back to me. You take that link from him and give me the downloaded file of that video to me, so that I can upload it onto the same channel.
Okay, sir.
Okay, you just talk to Vikas, and because when I was saying saving it, it said that it has been stored in Vikas Google Drive. So you just look into it. I am not able to retrieve that. Rest of the lectures I have uploaded. You can see.
Sir,
yes.
in Google Classroom, we can see that 24 July and 31st July is not uploaded.
You discussed with other students, was there any lecture on 24th July?
Yes, sir. Yeah, already here message there, are you present on 24th July?
We'll see. We'll see if there is any such thing, or anybody of you can tell me what was there in that lecture.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then thank you all. If you have any particular concern regarding today's lecture, you can write to me.
Sir, nothing on 24th July. Nothing. There was no class.
There was no class on 21st July. That is what I said. If I have the lecture recording, I have uploaded it. Otherwise, it is not. Okay, then bye for now. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.